Hey guys, it's William. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to share with you one of my favorite French desserts ever. We are going to make Tarte Tropézienne, which is also known as Tropézienne Brioche Tart or Tarte Tropézienne, whatever you want to call it. I don't know in English, but it is an amazing French dessert from Saint-Tropez. It is actually a very secret recipe, so you cannot find it online. It's always a copycat recipe, and the original one is closely guarded. So you will always find different versions of Tarte Tropézienne online, but today I'm going to share with you my own take on Tarte Tropézienne, and it will be fabulous. We are going to make everything homemade, and you do have to make everything homemade for it to taste perfect and authentic. And we are going to make some brioche that we are going to fill with a beautiful and thick cream, which is pretty much a custard that we are going to add butter and cream into it. It's going to be light yet super yummy and perfect for summer, so let's get right into it. As I said in the intro, we are going to make a custard and a brioche. And first of all, we are going to start actually with the custard, since it needs to rest quite a lot of time in the fridge. So I'm first of all going to heat up my milk. Pretty standard custard recipe today. And I'm going to put it on my stove with some vanilla extract. And I'm going to let it reach a slight bubble. You want it hot, yet not too bubbly. And then we can take care of the eggs. And for my eggs, I'm going to separate them, and I'm just going to use the yolks here. You can definitely make some beautiful pavlova recipe with the whites, and it will be delicious. And then we can add the sugar. Once I've whisked my sugar and egg yolks together, I'm going to add and sift in some cornstarch. This will thicken our beautiful custard, and I'm going to add quite a lot of it. And I'm also going to add some flour. This is all-purpose flour, and this will also help thickening everything while giving the smoothest texture possible. And then I'm just going to mix everything with my whisk. My milk is hot, so I'm just going to introduce it carefully into my egg yolks, and we are basically going to temper the eggs, which means that we will add the milk ladle by ladle pretty much, and mixing constantly so that we don't end up having some horrible scrambled eggs. It is not what we're making today. And just make sure that you whisk thoroughly and add your milk a little at a time, and it will be perfect. Now I'm just going to put everything back on my pan and on my stove top, and I'm going to heat this up, whisking constantly for about 5 to 10 minutes or until you see bubbles appear. This will mean that your custard will set at the thickest stage. It is quite important to see bubbles here, and once you have those, you can basically put everything in a bowl and cover your custard with some plastic wrap. And I'm just going to let that cool completely and then put it in the fridge for about 2 or 3 hours or until it is perfectly set. While your custard is in the fridge, you can then make the brioche, which will take also quite a bit of time since you will need to let it rest. So you can prepare everything in advance, but I will suggest making the brioche the day of the recipe. And I'm going to start very simply with my water, which is here pretty warm, and I'm going to add some yeasts in there and let it rest for about 5 minutes while making the rest of the recipe. This will make sure that our yeasts are actually activated. In the meantime, I'm going to add my all-purpose flour in my beautiful glass bowl, and then I'm going to add my eggs. This is a brioche after all, so you need a lot of eggs. And then I'm also going to add some vanilla extract for flavor, as well as granulated white sugar. And then you are going to add your weird and puffed up activated yeasts in the mixture with the water. This is great, so I'm just going to knead my dough for about 3 minutes or until you can no longer see flour and everything is mixed in, and then we can add the butter. You cannot make brioche without adding some butter, and I'm going to add it now. This butter is at room temperature and is the best quality possible. And I'm going to add it bits by bits while I mix my dough to make sure that it's well incorporated. And then we can knead it for about 5 minutes. After 5 minutes of kneading, you should end up with a very sticky dough, but very light at the same time. This is perfect and exactly what we want. So I'm just going to transfer it in another bowl and cover it with some plastic wrap, and then we can let it rest at room temperature for about 2 hours or until it doubles in size. Our dough is beautiful and has doubled in size. It is perfect to use, exactly what we want here. I'm just going to use a very simple cake pan, which is silicone today, but you can definitely use any type of cake pan really. And this cake pan is about 20 centimeters in diameter, which is 8 inches. And I'm just going to spread my dough in my cake pan, and then we are going to let that rest once again for about 45 minutes or so. This will make sure that we will have a very puffy brioche. After 45 minutes, you should end up with the most gorgeous brioche ever. And we are going to make it even more beautiful using some egg wash that I'm just going to brush on top of the brioche to make sure that it actually looks beautiful and golden brown after baking. And I'm going to also use a very characteristic ingredients when it comes to making brioche and Tarte Tropézienne. Indeed, it is pearl sugar. This sugar is super hard and has a very nice texture, which is very important when it comes to making Tarte Tropézienne. And then we can finally bake our Tarte Tropézienne in our preheated oven at 200 degrees Celsius, that's 390 in Fahrenheit, and I'm going to bake it for about 20 minutes or until it looks a bit more dry and perfectly golden brown. If you're not sure, you can actually unmold it and see if the bottom is also very brown, which it will be. And then you can let it rest completely at room temperature before cutting it open. Alright, already the final steps in this recipe. I know it's pretty impressive and seems very complicated to make, and actually it is quite lengthy and you have to be patient and know what you're doing. But once you've watched this recipe step by step, you should be able to do everything perfectly. So don't be afraid. Now we are going to take care of the custard, which has set properly, and I actually made it the day before, and it is super thick and perfect looking. We are going to transform it in what we call in French crème mousseline, which basically means a pastry cream that we are going to whisk quite intensely to add some air bubbles in there and make it a bit more light. And then we are going to make everything more interesting by adding some room temperature butter, which is very soft and it is important here. And we are going to mix everything very well, adding the butter little by little, and you should end up with a thicker and super nice crème mousseline. Final ingredient, we are now going to add some whipped cream in there. Yes, I know this is a lot of fat and we don't care. Even though it's summer, it is such an amazing dessert. Clearly one of my favorites for a pretty obvious reason is that there's a lot of butter and a lot of cream in this recipe, and we are going to mix this whipped cream into our custard, and it will just make this custard perfect, thick and delicious in taste. It is time to assemble our beautiful Tarte Tropézienne. So now I'm just going to cut my gorgeous brioche, and as you can see, the inside is absolutely perfect, super aerated and gorgeously yellow. And then I'm just going to put my gorgeous crème mousseline in a piping bag, and I'm just going to pipe our beautiful cream. Now for a bit of freshness and summery taste in this Tarte Tropézienne, I'm going to add my favorite fruit, which is raspberry, and this goes extremely well in this recipe, and I always eat my Tarte Tropézienne with raspberries in there if I can. I know it's not that authentic since it is pretty common to have just a basic vanilla Tarte Tropézienne, but I really suggest adding some red berries in there. It will taste amazing. And I'm just going to do that and cover it up with a bit more cream, and then we will top everything with our hot brioche, and our Tarte Tropézienne will be done. And that's it, our Tarte Tropézienne is gorgeous, perfect looking, and it was not that difficult to make. Yes, there are a lot of steps and not everything is super easy, but it's not crazy difficult and you don't need it to look exactly like mine. You can make things a bit more simple if you are afraid of piping bags, for example. I suggest storing it in the fridge. It is quite important for the cream and it will set a bit more with the brioche. That will actually get a bit more moist with the moisture from the cream. Everything works out wonderfully well in the end. And if you want to eat it right now, you can find the list of ingredients in the description down below, right with my social media, so Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you enjoyed this recipe, and give this video a like and a comment if you want to chat. I'll be very happy to respond to your comment, and I will see you very soon for another gorgeous recipe. Bye!